Okay, chapter 15. One more chapter. One more chapter, and this thing is over, folks. Great, isn't it? Hope you are having a very productive time, good time. I hope you can spend some time enjoying the summer. Uh, I've enjoyed my time with you, and I appreciate your input. This chapter 15 is on therapy, and this is really Uh, of all the chapters, this is really kind of an interesting one because it takes us to so many different areas, and we're certainly not going to be able to cover all of the areas that it takes us to. But therapy itself, the word comes from the Greek meaning to heal. And so that's what we're looking at with the therapy in this section, the therapeutic process with mental illness. And this has been going on for a long time. Uh, I mean, thousands of years when I say a long time. And probably the first example was trephining. And trephining consisted of drilling a hole in the skull to relieve pressure? No, not necessarily, but rather to let out evil spirits. You have to take the time and the place. You know, these individuals were going on all of the information that they had at that time, the same way that we are. The trafficking has been going on for then a number of years after. I mean, this has been thousands of years ago with trafficking. And it is still might be in some areas practiced even today. All right, I'm going to go through some of the different therapies with you. It's kind of interesting with the different therapies. You know, we have about 400, maybe there's even more different therapies. And the wide range of these therapies. I have one here, it's called birthing. And the main thrust of this therapy was this, that when an individual has problems, particularly as a early teenager, when they have problems, it's the result of some negative experience that happened during the birthing process. So we call it birthing, but actually it's a process to have the individual rebirth, to experience a rebirth. Now we hear that in Christian circles, but this is an actual physical attempt at a rebirth. And so they tell you that this happened to a 10-year-old. This was, excuse me, not too long ago. They took a 10-year-old and they wrapped this 10-year-old very tightly in a sheet. And then very, very tightly in a blanket. Maybe more than one blanket, but they wanted to make sure that she was covered very firmly. And then 4 people sat on her. And she would say, hey, I can't breathe. I'm getting sick. And you take the 4 people that sat on her, and they weighed 150 pounds apiece. What would that be? 600 pounds. 600 pounds sitting on a 10-year-old girl who was wrapped up in blankets. And complained she couldn't eat. She vomited, became sick, became ill. And after a while, of course, you know, she was unruly behavior. She was a 10-year-old. She was active. Adults didn't think she should be active. So they put her in this birthing process, wanting her to re-experience the birthing process, and this would help her behavior. Well, it kind of worked. It kind of worked. Because at first she was kicking and fighting, and then she calmed down. So they undid the blankets and they undid the sheets, and there she was. They had killed her. I can't say that she died. I have to say that they had killed her. This is the absolute stupidity of some people. They are idiots. Okay, now as we go through this now, the types of therapy, I'm just going to read some of these off. Hot and cold water, wanting to shock the individual, mystical rituals, wearing different types of charms and incense and aromas, trying to drive the bad spirits away because they still thought that the behavior was a result of some type of spirit infestation. Women who were unruly and were not cooperative. They said the reason that this woman is unruly and uncooperative is because the uterus is out of position. So in order to lure the uterus back in position, they use some type of fumigation technique on the vagina, hoping to move it back. All right. Music, bloodletting, laxatives. These were all part of the therapeutic process for mental illness. And we can go on into tobacco. When tobacco was first discovered, individuals weren't used to it. Why, if they were acting up, they would give them tobacco. Amulets, small objects worn to ward off evil. And I have dungeons up here. Folks, they would take the mentally ill, put them in dungeons, and chain them in such a way so they were unable to really lay down and get a good night's sleep. I mean, they had to sleep in a standing position. And on top of that, their cells were never cleaned. I mean, the waste and everything that took place remained in that cell. This is the way these people were treated. We have to have an understanding of this to really appreciate the therapy that we have now. Now, asylum means sanctuary. Bedlam, we've heard the term bedlam, means uproar, confusion, or a madhouse. Well, St. Mary of Bethlehem, England, admitted mentally ill. Now, I think that you could probably see a similarity, a relationship between the word Bedlam and Bethlehem. Gyrating chair. They'd have put him in a chair and just spin him around and around and around. Franz Mesmer, Mesmer worked, and this is where we get mesmerism from, but he worked with a hot tub, and he would have individuals disrobe and get in the hot tub, and then he would walk around and touch them with a stick, and there was some type of gravitational pull that was supposed to perform some type of therapy. Going down through here, electroconvulsive shock was first started out with insulin, and then it went electricity. Now there is some reason to think that this could work, because some of the mental illnesses have found that if they didn't that the mental illnesses did not go together. So if they could produce some type of seizure, that it would drive out a mental illness. We have lobotomies. First one was in 1935. You lifted up the eyelid. You put literally an ice pick up there. You tap it through the skull. You mess up the brain, severing the emotions in the brain. And supposedly this was supposed to help. Now, this went on, I believe, until the 50s. Lobotomy. Some of our therapists, then we have come along with psychopharmacology. This was pills. This was pills, and this was, of course, to make individuals feel better. Then we have here some therapists, Carl Rogers, who was client-centered, brief therapy, and the Rosenhan experiment. I'm going to talk about this very quickly and very briefly, because there'll be some questions on the in assignments about this. The Rosenhan experiment, what he did, he took some normal individuals and sent them to a psychiatric hospital. Now, there was nothing wrong with these individuals. These individuals were admitted to the hospital. These individuals acted normal, acted in a very normal manner, but they were all classified with schizophrenia. Like I said, you'll be reading more of this. Okay, the patients in the hospital said, hey, those individuals, those Confederates that come in, said, hey, there's nothing wrong with those people. They are normal. The patients recognized that they were normal. However, the psychiatrists finally dismissed them, and this was over different hospitals, finally dismissed them and put their diagnosis, schizophrenia in remission. Now you'll read some more about that. So Rosenhan was talking about this study to another hospital, and this other hospital, mental hospital, says, you couldn't fool us. And so basically what Rosenhan was supposed to do was supposed to send some fake individuals, some Confederates, to go ahead and attempt admittance in the hospital. And to be admitted into the hospital and saying that there's something wrong with them. Well, a number of individuals, then this went over a period of, 80 to 100 individuals. And at the end of that period, the hospital said, well, this one here you sent as a fake, as a Confederate. This one here was real. This one here you sent as a fake. This one here we're not sure of. So they went through all of these individuals, talking about the ones that Rosenhan had sent to the hospital, even though there wasn't anything wrong with them. And the hospital said, we can pick them out. Now, this is what is interesting about this, is when they got through with the discussion, the hospital workers said, okay, I'll be very honest with us, how many Confederates, how many fake individuals did you send, and did we pick out the right ones on the list here? Rosenhan had not sent one fake person, not one Confederate, not one imposter. Rosenhan did not send one. So that winds us up on therapy. Therapy is an interesting topic. You'll have a few questions and assignments about this video. So we have one more video to go, video 16. You have a good day, and we will be visiting soon.